Welcome to the More Than Fitness podcast.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Minisode number 150. We made it to 150, y'all. By we, I mean me. No, but seriously, thank you guys for listening. If you've been here from Minisode number 1, or this is your very first one ever, I appreciate you being here. Okay, today's Minisode, we are going to talk about a question from Austin. If you want to ask your question on the More Than Fitness podcast for me to answer on one of these Minisodes, God, I'm so comfortable on my couch. As you guys can see here in the video podcast, I got a little bit of a plant. I got my little lamp here with the Edison light bulb. This doesn't really matter for any of you guys, but I like it. Apartment's coming together well. Yeah, not too many updates there. But today's Minisode, anyway, so ADHD. Austin asked about, so what he said was, my self-worth is tied to how I look. Please help. Right. And so if you do have a question, just like Austin, you can submit it in the form below. There's a link in the description of this podcast. You can click that, fill out your question for me to answer. And so, yeah, Austin, thank you for your question. And this is a great question, and it's a very hard question. And I don't even know if what I'm about to say is going to be helpful for you or for anybody else who is worried about this, because I feel like anybody listening to this, because one of the things that tie all of us together, even though this is the More Than Fitness podcast, I can talk about other random things. I feel like the one thing that connects us all is fitness, right? Fitness is our core, right? And then everything else around it, we may have different interests, whatever it is, but the one thing that we all have in common is that we probably, to some extent, if you're listening to this, care about your fitness, care about your health. And so with that, to some extent, some of your self-worth is probably going to be tied to your fitness goals. And I actually also had a client who just talked to me about this issue as well. He is a personal trainer himself, and he has felt recently this pressure to look a certain way for other people in the industry or other companies or customers or whatever it is, that he feels like he needs to look the part as a fitness professional for people to gain his respect, or to for companies to consider hiring him and things. And I empathized with him, and don't get me wrong, he looks great, and that's part of what I'll get into. But what I told him, and what I think that I would also tell Austin in this case, is that one, I've definitely been there, so I can relate in many ways, and it's still something that I work on, and I think it's something, again, that we're all continuously working on. But I think what I've found is that whenever I start to feel like my self-worth is tied to my physique specifically, I feel like it's actually a reflection on my daily actions. So maybe I'm just not following through with the promises that I make myself, right? Because again, at our core, for all of us, is fitness. So we see ourselves as the fitness person. We see our identity as somebody who cares about their fitness. And so if our actions aren't aligning with that view of ourselves, well, then we have some conflict, right? Because then we're saying in our heads, hey, we're this fitness person, but then our actions of whatever, overeating every single night or missing workouts or all these other things, right? That's kind of clashing with this view of ourselves. And so that can create some type of disconnect. So the first thing that I would say is to audit kind of what you're doing on a regular basis. And I think that as long as you don't have ridiculous standards for yourself as far as what you need to be doing on a regular basis to take care of yourself from a health and from a body composition standpoint, I think that you'll probably feel a little bit of that go away if this is kind of pinpointing the problem that you're trying to solve, right? So just make sure that your actions are matching your ambitions. And maybe you're being too hard on yourself. Maybe you're thinking, hey, I need to nail my calories, nail my macros, nail my meal timing, nail every single one of my workouts, make sure I'm following this plan. Maybe you just need to dial that back a little bit and take off some of the pressure from yourself. And then I think, hey, maybe if you just lower the bar a little bit, right? And make something more reasonable, take the pressure off yourself, and then you can start to achieve that. And whenever you start to achieve that regularly, consistently, then maybe you can bump it up again from there. But maybe aim a little bit lower and then consistently hit that, and then you can continue building from there. But also, so I have some other things that are going on. Another thing. So one of the things that I told my client about this topic, I was like, maybe think about this and work backwards, right? Because typically what happens with this self-worth dilemma is that there's some type of void missing, and we're trying to the way that we're trying to fill that void, and the way that we're identifying that void is through our body in this particular instance, right? We have this void that we're feeling insecure or not worthy enough or feeling insufficient in whatever way. And so we can not even realize that we're doing it, but we can throw this problem, or we can make this problem, hey, I need to improve my body, which then is a never ending goal, right? Because you can never, right? You're always going to have something to work on. There's always going to be something that we're going to nitpick here and there whenever it comes to our body. So we can give ourselves this kind of quote unquote impossible problem to try and solve. And this just creates, years worth of anxiety whenever it's actually something a little bit different, which I'll get into in just a second. But what I told my client was to work backwards, right? So what does quote unquote success look like to you? Like, what does enough look like to you? What does being worthy look like to you? And my guess is that it would be pretty difficult for you to pinpoint exactly what that means. Like, does that mean 10% body fat? Does that mean a certain weight? Does that mean a certain bench press or something, right? So like, what specifically would be enough for you to be like, I am worthy now? Right. And I think that if you try to ask yourself that and try and really get specific on what it is that you're trying to fulfill, and really try and get clarity on that, I would bet that it would be very difficult to pinpoint. And what that means is that it's probably something else that you're looking for, right? I don't think that it is actually your self-worth. You can feel like it is tied up within your body and how you look in things, but actually what you're looking for is, love from somebody else, right? It could be the thing that I mentioned earlier, right? Like maybe you're not living up to your own expectations, and so that needs adjusted as well. But I think that the real question that you need to ask whenever your self-worth is tied to your body is like, what is that missing piece that you're looking for? Right? What is that void? And then I think that is where your answer will lie, right? And that can be very tough to answer, but it's just like, I don't think that you're going to get that by reaching a certain body fat percentage or by getting a certain amount of compliments or whatever it is, because you're going to move that target forward over and over and over again. So actually what I think you're looking for is something a little bit deeper. And I think whenever you can figure out what that is, that's where your answer will lie. But that takes a lot of hard questions. It takes a lot of inner work, right? And so I think that's something that you need to consider working on. And then another thing that I have down here is that, and what I told my client who was struggling with this, I was like, maybe you need to shift your motivation from something that is extrinsic. So for example, I need to look a certain way, I need to be a certain body fat percentage or a certain weight, I need to be smaller, whatever it is. Shift that intrinsic focus to switch that extrinsic focus to something intrinsic, right? So doing things that make you proud, right? Taking actions on a regular basis that make you proud, that make you healthy, that nourish your body, that serve your body, as opposed to doing things, eating a salad just because, hey, it's 200 calories, I'm gonna hit my calorie limit for the day, and that's gonna give me abs, right? It's like, no, let's eat this salad so that we can feel good after we eat the salad, so that we can take care of our bodies, so that we can nourish our bodies, so that we can, this is a act of self-love towards ourself, right? And you're going to feel better after you make this choice because it's aligned with your values. And I think that's the key, right? Is consistently taking actions that align with your values. That is what is going to build the self-confidence over time. And that is how I think that you're going to part ways with just aligning your self-worth with your body, or with your, how much money you make, or the type of people that you date, or your spouse, or something like that, right? It's like having your self-worth tied up in any of these things, especially things that you can't control, such as, like I was talking with my client, as far as getting a certain job opportunity because you look a certain way. It's like, you can't control that. The only thing that you can control, right, is taking these actions on a daily basis that align with your values. And then just, you can control what you can control, and that's it, right? You can't control somebody giving you some type of opportunity, or hoping that somebody's going to give you something for the way that you look, or expect a certain amount of compliments from certain people whenever you go out, right? Because of how you look. You can't control what these other people are doing, but I think if you shift your focus intrinsically, you start doing things for yourself because it's good for yourself, because it makes you a better person, because it is a vote towards the identity that you align with based on the values that you say are important to you. I think that is where the real self-confidence comes from. That's where the real building of your own personal self-worth will come from. And that's hard. It really is hard, but it's an ongoing practice. And I think that's the key. It's not a goal, it's a practice. It's a daily practice, it's a daily refinement. And as long as you come from a place of not giving up, and then two, from a place of compassion and forgiveness, as opposed to being militant and berating yourself and being hard on yourself, it's just like you're likely going to have a better outcome with the former as opposed to the latter. And I think that research is very clear on that too. And it's the pithy thing that I always say to people, I say to my clients, I say on social media, is that you need to work with yourself instead of against yourself, right? It's always going to be easier that way. So, Austin, I hope that is somewhat helpful. Again, I know that this is not a very straightforward answer, and I think that it's going to take a lot of personal internal looking and a lot of very hard questions that I think that you need to ask yourself. Just like, what is it that is missing, that is disguised as my self-worth being tied up in my body, right? Like, there's something underlying there that I think you need to explore, and you need to figure out what that is and how you can get it, or how you can accept that's what it is, and then still find fulfillment in other things as well. Because that'll be my last thing that I'll say, is that getting self-worth somewhat from your actions with your health and fitness, I think that that's cool, that's fine. But also, like, who are you as a person, as a father, as a brother, as a son, as a friend, right? And then of course a daughter, mother, etc., right? All these other things that also tie into your self-worth and who you are as a person, besides how you look or how many times you exercise per week, right? So I think if you focus on those things over time and try to be kind to yourself, you'll have a better outcome. All right, and so last thing, if you guys have a question, fill out the link in the description. If you guys enjoy this podcast, if this was helpful, please like, subscribe, rate, and review. It really helps out the podcast. It helps out me, helps out us. And yeah, that's it for Minisode number 150. Thank you guys, as always, for listening and for watching. See ya.